Hello world, hello diaspora, and everyone here in the United States and all over there in Africa. Welcome to our Africa Weekly News. We are back on again with some updates that is going on in Ethiopia. I will mainly cover on what is currently happening in Ethiopia, since that's been a really huge conflict issue that is rising up and it's just building onto a lot of other things as well. So you'll be amazed of things that are going on in that side of the world over there in Ethiopia. So welcome back to Ellie Naimel Talk Show here at Tempo Africa TV, and let's bring you on some update of what is happening in Ethiopia lately. If you guys remember, the news that started, the war that started way back in November 2022, now we are going into year 2022. Actually, November 2020, and now we are going into year 2022. So this has been a long war since the Ethiopian government and the TPLF have decided to go against each other. Just to give you guys a little brief memory, so it started off, of course, with the elections, and Tigray decided to still continue to hold their own election against the Prime Minister's will after canceling it due to COVID. So the people of Tigray, of course, did not accept that and decided to go ahead and continue to hold the election. And from there, they rise up against the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, and that's how the whole chaos started. And from there going forward, the humanitarian crisis and the starvation and all the rape victims, the stories you guys probably have been hearing that is happening in Tigray, war escalated, triggering Eritrean soldiers and Amhara soldiers to start fight against the Tigray militias. And as that continued to grow and explode to even larger warfare dynamic, hunger rise up, people fled into Sudan and try to find shelters and way to escape, because Tigray is a landlocked in Ethiopia, in the country of Ethiopia, where the Prime Minister blocked United Nations humanitarian crisis to enter into Tigray. So it gave a really bad look to the Prime Minister due to the starvation, the innocent people that were dying, and the women that has to face horrific stories and tragics and things like that. Currently where we are in the last 2 weeks with the Ethiopian War, the Tigray gained a lot of territories in Ethiopia, and we're getting closer to Addis Ababa. And from there, the emergency was released. All the diaspora and the foreigners that were in Ethiopia were required to be evacuated immediately to go back to their countries, and until this war in Ethiopia gets solved or figured out at some point. And who knows when this war is going to end. But as it continues to go forward, many young people in Ethiopia were asked to join the military, and many people have joined the military and supported Prime Minister Abiy to fight for the Ethiopian victory, for the democracy. If you guys remember in the past, Ethiopia way of ruling, I should say, has been drastically changed a lot. And Abiy made some point on some of the things he had said or mentioned in his speech, that Ethiopia has been ruled by Tigray, by the TPLF, for so many years, for a very, very long time. And a lot of Ethiopians know that very well. And a lot of the rules and the things that are going on in Ethiopia is a very diverse country with many, many tribes. So his goal is to change that. So came up with the Prosperity Party and decided to change some of the rules in the Ethiopian government so that they can implement the democracy that they have been working on, especially freedom of expression. And many people have spoke out against that a long, long time ago, where in Ethiopia, there's still dictatorships in people's mind, and people really, really are fighting for freedom of expression, freedom of speech. For a very, very high developing country that is very, very advanced in Africa, is definitely a plan for Abiy to make sure that democracy pulls through and that there's a new Ethiopia and there's a freedom of speech. So unfortunately, there's bad ends on both sides, you know, from what the world is seeing, Tigray, all the starvation, the rapists, and all that tragedy that is going on. It's very sad what is happening in Tigray. And it's also a must that Dr. Abiy will do whatever he can to make sure that the Ethiopian democracy pulls through. So on last 2 weeks ago, he decided to join the war and go on the battlefield himself. So I will give you guys further more details about that and see where he is now in the battlefield, the fight against Tigray. So the 45-year-old former soldier arrived on the front line on Tuesday, according to the government spokesman. And this was about 2 weeks ago, since he's been in the battlefield. Tens and thousands of people have died in the war between the Ethiopian federal and allied troops and fighters from the country's Tigray region. Both Ethiopians and the observers have been alarmed, including countries like France, Germany, and Turkey, which have told their citizens to leave immediately. And that was the emergency that was implemented in the country. The state-run Ethiopian Broadcasting Corporation quoted Abiy saying that the Tigray force have sustained heavy loss and were unable to cope with the strike by the allied forces. The enemy were hit and victory will continue. These are his words. These are Abiy's words on what he has said to his spokesman and what he is standing on to make sure that this battle is won and democracy is there. With the help of allies, the Ethiopian government says its forces have recaptured strategic towns of Dessie and Kombolcha, their latest territory gains in the battle against fighters from the northern Tigray region. So those two territories have been recaptured. And if you guys have seen some of the videos floating around on YouTube with drones that are being used, some of the heavier gear military has been used, and these are from the support from the allies countries that are supporting Abiy to fight in this war. Forces allied with the Tigray Liberal Front had taken control of the town in the Amara region just more than a month ago and threatened an advance to the capital, Addis Ababa. So, as they were pushing towards Addis Ababa, this is where the war has begun to get more and more serious. For the Prime Minister to join the war to make sure that, you know, whatever necessary will be used to fight in this Ethiopia war. And you know, unfortunately, many lives have been lost. It's a very terrible time for Ethiopia, for many families and the citizens as well. Wars are not a wonderful thing. They are not a wonderful thing. When the country is at war, feminine is on rise, division is on rise, many young loses their lives, and that is what is currently going on. Some of the latest update that you'll probably want to know is on Saturday, there was a government communication service, and they have said the enemy force which escaped from the destruction was fleeing. So this is what's happening in the battlefield, and it is being followed by the allied forces that are helping to fight on the Ethiopian side as well. In the late October, majority territories have been reclaimed and are now back into the government control as well. So what is happening or what's going to happen with the TPLF, there's still a lot of developing stories with that. Will they still be strong enough to continue to fight for their power? Or will Ethiopia become a whole new Ethiopia. Now, and how it affects all the other Ethiopians in the diaspora region, there's been a lot of protests going on about the international interference into the war, and that a lot of the blames are being put into the USA as well. And especially the USA diaspora, they are also being painted with the same brush. So those who want to be among the Ethiopian children, we will be hailed by history. Rise by your country today and let's meet the front, said Abiy. As this war gets bigger and stronger, yes, it is also affecting the Ethiopian diaspora as well, because even traveling to Ethiopia is becoming more critical and more crucial. The updates that there are from the embassy is once you arrive in Addis Ababa, in order to get your visa, you have to go directly to the embassy. Whether they take you there or how that process works, I don't know exactly. But many people have come out against this frustration as well, currently because there is a war going on in Ethiopia. So for anyone traveling to Ethiopia or decide you want to visit Ethiopia, probably now is not a good time due to the war that is happening. But if you do go, definitely check the embassy first, the Ethiopian embassy and the American embassy over there, on what are the new guidelines and what are the things to expect as well as you arrived and visit Ethiopia. So may all of this, go out soon, and as hopefully there will be peace and new Ethiopia coming in the near future. We'll see what 2022 holds for Ethiopia as well. All right, going on to some of the update that is going on in other countries like Sudan and Uganda. In the last few weeks ago, if you guys have heard the sadly killing that took place in Sudan during the protests, things have slowed down now, so which is good. People have gotten really scared to protest due to the lives that were lost. About 15 civilians were killed. And during that time, the internet was blocked out for almost a whole month. So for anyone outside of South Sudan is not able to see what is going on in the country. But as soon as the internet came back on, then we were able to see all the destruction that took place during the protests. May their soul rest in peace, and these protesters have really fight hard against the military groups across Khartoum and demanding a full handover to the civilian authorities for the leaders, which happened on October 25th. So, and the internet was restored on November 16, which was about a month ago. And from there in time on, things has been a lot more quiet and not a lot of protests going on. So still more updates on that to come, 2022. Where will Sudan go forward from there? Will there continue to be protests? Will the military give the civilians back the power to the people? And as they are quoted, people are just terrified right now, said one of the Amdaman protests. So continue forward in Uganda. Uganda military right now are fighting a war against the terrorist group. And according to where it started off during a suicide bomber in Kampala, Uganda, where a few people have died. And this is related and linked to the ISIS terrorist attack, which happened on November 16, about a month ago. About 7 people were killed, including the 3 bombers, not too far from downtown Kampala, very close around there. And 1 police officer was among the 4 others killed, and 27 of 37 were wounded, including the police officer. And some of the spokesmen stated that to disrupt and dismantle acts of domestic terrorism, we have intensified operations such those operations began a total of 106 suspects have been arrested after this attack. So today going on, it was a really shocking moment in Uganda, something that has never happened either for an extremely long time, or it has never happened in Uganda, where there is a surprise suicide bomber attack. And this has really brought a lot of fears among the people. So there's not a lot of traveling, a lot of activity, or much going on in Uganda, according to that, and create many more panic as well among the civilian. And currently, Uganda is working on fixing those, making sure that such thing does not happen again, and see where it goes from there. And currently, as we speak, the war in Uganda, the military have joined to fight on some of these terrorist things. And once we have more updates on that, we will continue to update you on it. There's a lot of wars going on right now in East Africa, I might say. Of course, not as bad as Ethiopian War, but they're rising up. So a lot of militaries in the field, and yeah, it's the time we're all going through. It's a really, really sad time. You know, during wars, it's time more lives are lost, more famine on the rise, and more fear, and a lot of panic. So may peace continue to rise in Africa, and all is well. Now, currently, we have a new variant with COVID-19, if you guys have heard of Omicron. So it has just touched the United States last week. They are still counting up the cases. There's still been a lot of cases going on with the Omicron. And supposedly from the CDC guidelines and from Dr. Fauci, it's not supposed to be as bad as Delta. It's not supposed to be as bad as Delta. But some of the symptoms you may recognize, they're very mild. You may have an itchy throat or less cough here and there, and also sneezing and just kind of minor sickness and aches as well, compared to some of the variants that we had. So, and what did this say to our nation around the world and everybody around the world is that there will always be new variants. Who knows what the next variant is going to be. During this season and this time of the year is the time we begin to recognize where the COVID transition to different variants often as well. And with the new travel ban, people can't leave South Africa, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and about 6 to 7 countries in South Africa have been banned to leave the country. They cannot leave. They can't go anywhere. So it's a very disruptive time for the holiday and for those families that are trying to get back to their families, especially in the UK and other parts of the world, in which the travel ban has been put within the United States as well. So they're still waiting on trying to figure out what this variant is and what it does and how it affects people before they can uplift the travel ban. And in the next coming days, you know, stay tuned for what is going to come during the holiday season. We will talk more about what we have gone through so far in our society since COVID, or especially the whole year of 2021. A lot has happened. So we want to make sure, you know, we have those conversations and that people are having these dialogues so that we can see where we at as people and how we can go forward to 2022. So stay tuned for next week and more program to come, and some of the things where we will have some of these dialogues and conversations as well. Have a wonderful night and a great weekend.
This is Sam Daly of Cultural Group Benefit Company. a group life insurance designed for cultural association. We've done this program now for 21 years. The program is approved in 46 states. It's a group life insurance program. I want to emphasize it's a group life insurance program for cultural association, guaranteed without any pre-existing medical conditions. Please, cultural community, there's no need for GoFundMe. We have a program designed for cultural association. Please, if you want to know more about this program, visit our website, www.culturalgroupbenefits.com, or call me directly, 763-593-5107. Thank you.